Hey, what's going on, guys? The UFC 297 pre-fight press conference just ended, and overall, this was kind of an uneventful press conference, but I will say Sean Strickland might have put on the most embarrassing pre-fight press conference I've ever seen, especially knowing that Sean Strickland is kind of known for overperforming at press conferences. He literally did not use 1 ounce of trash talk towards Dricus Du Plessis. And I said this yesterday in a video that I did yesterday, and we're going to touch on that video a bit in this video. Sean Strickland is literally on a leash. Dricus Du Plessis has already dog walked Sean Strickland. And it's crazy to see. I mean, I've never seen this in the history of combat sports. Someone mentally break somebody with 30 seconds of trash talk a month and a half before the fight. I was in awe watching this press conference. I halfway expected it, but I could not. It was worse than I could have ever expected. So first off, there was a bunch of fighters on stage, but there really wasn't a whole lot of moments from all the other fighters. Basically, I'm kind of going out of order here, but we're really going to focus on Strickland Du Plessis. You have Chris Curtis asked about, fighting a hometown, fighter. You have Neil Magny asked, I don't even remember what Neil Magny was asked, but the whole crowd just shouted over him. I couldn't make out a single word that Neil Magny said. Maybe he was, talking about beating up 2-year-olds. I really don't know. And then you have Mike Malott getting a big, massive ovation. And you know what's crazy about Mike Malott? He said something like, I'm known for finishing guys. And I really expected immediately for Sean Strickland to jump in there and make a gay joke about Dricus Du Plessis and his coach. And it was crickets. It was crickets. He didn't say a word. But outside of that, you look at the women's title fight. You had Mayra Bueno Silva say some things, basically saying Raquel Pennington isn't on her level, and Raquel Pennington just came back and said, speak English. I mean, talk about low-hanging fruit. Speak English like this isn't a worldwide sport. I don't know why people use that as some type of gotcha moment at a press conference. So that's really all the other fighters. I think Allen was asked a question, maybe if he beats Movsar, would it earn him a title shot? I don't even remember what his answer was. It was kind of, 3 seconds long and really wasn't nothing. And I don't think Movsar was asked a single question. I don't think Marc-Andre Barriault was asked a single question either, so I feel bad for him. He joined in on the Mike Malott chant, but that's pretty much it for all the other fighters, if I'm not mistaken. That's really it. I mean, there was really nothing of any substance between any of the other fighters. And Strickland and Du Plessis had this weird dynamic where, honestly, I felt like Du Plessis was embarrassed for Sean Strickland. I really do think he was embarrassed for Sean Strickland. He came out. Sean Strickland had this initial 1-minute diatribe saying, how he's taking up for the Canadian fans and he wants them to have freedom of speech, which is ironic considering he doesn't want Dricus to be able to say what Dricus wants to say. He's messaging him and begging him not to talk about certain things. And then the entire press conference consisted of, between Strickland and DDP, Strickland literally brown-nosing Dricus Du Plessis so heavily that literally Strickland knows what Dricus had for lunch earlier today. I mean, it was a Michael Chandler-esque brown-nosing and Dricus Du Plessis Conor McGregor. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. It was nothing but complimenting Dricus Du Plessis. He came out initially and said, we're going to have a death match. And Strickland has always talked about, I want to kill someone in there. I'm going to go to war. When has Strickland ever gone to war? That's what I would like to know. This guy hypes up, and he even made comments yesterday about, he hates the women's fights and he doesn't want to see 2 cats fight and lions fights. And while I understand the UFC does at some point in time stuff low-level women's MMA down our throats, Strickland goes out there almost every single fight and puts on a snoozer performance. And he's talking about, he wants to go out there and kill someone when he just pumps his jab the entire time. Dricus Du Plessis is a guy that actually goes out there and goes to war. But the entire fight, the entire press conference, Strickland was just kind of hyping up Dricus Du Plessis. At one point, they asked him, about Dricus and what he thought of him as a fighter. He said, yeah, Dricus likes to fight and he's a hell of a fighter. Then Du Plessis was asked the question, and Du Plessis was getting booed by the crowd. Strickland literally interrupted and said, quiet down, he's a warrior, applaud him and encourage him. I mean, what is he trying to do? I mean, Strickland came off as the ultimate weak man in this press conference. And I know nobody else is going to call this out because you have a certain fan base that worships Sean Strickland, and no matter what, he can do no wrong because he says controversial stuff. He says unfiltered stuff. So for them, they can't, they just can't, it doesn't correlate in their minds. They can't be critical of Sean Strickland, but to go out there and say, hey guys, quiet down, he's a warrior, leave him alone, leave him alone. Du Plessis literally looked embarrassed for Sean Strickland, literally looked embarrassed for him. At one moment, you had literally Strickland standing up. Oh, I forgot about this. I didn't even mention this in the beginning. You had someone rush the stage while Strickland was talking. He rushes the stage. I think he just wanted to shake Strickland's hand. I don't know what was going on. He looked like he had something in his hand. And then, I don't know, I feel like there's more to that because Strickland was laughing hysterically. Dana White was laughing hysterically. And then Dricus wasn't really laughing. And then as the guy was getting pulled away, Du Plessis started laughing hysterically. So I don't know what that guy was trying to achieve, but at least, I mean, that was the most notable moment of the press conference. And then right after that, Strickland says, it was never personal. I go hard on everyone. I go hard. I think he's getting hard thinking about Du Plessis and his coach kissing on the lips. I truly think Strickland is. You know, the way Strickland talks, you know, he's obsessed with, it seems like, homosexual behavior. Not in this press conference, though, because Dricus had him on a leash. And he says, I go hard on everyone. And he says, I'm proud of Dricus Du Plessis. I never lose character, and he got me there. He literally said, I am proud of him. And then he said, me and Dricus are going to try to kill each other. And he stood up when the guy had rushed the stage. He had stood up and was like screaming into the mic. And then he said, to the death. And he offered a handshake to Du Plessis. Du Plessis shook his hand in agreement that we're going to fight to the death. Well, Du Plessis always fights to the death. Sean Strickland's the one that goes out there and jabs to a boring decision every single time out. And this performance by Strickland was so embarrassing. And again, I know nobody's going to say this, and Strickland incel fans are going to be down the chat. Joey, you just don't like Strickland. Du Plessis had him on a leash. Du Plessis, and I covered this in my video yesterday. I encourage you to go watch my video from yesterday about UFC 297 Media Day. Du Plessis was messaged by Sean Strickland apologizing to him and saying, look, if there's anything you don't want me to say, let me know and I won't say it. I'm sorry. If you need me to delete any post online, I'll do that. And said, but please don't talk about my background. You know, I like to bully everyone. I like to, you know, talk crap to everyone. I like to dial it up to 10 on everyone and really shit on everyone. But now that I got a little taste of my own medicine, I can't handle it. Can you please not do it? And Du Plessis said, I felt bad for him. I took pity on him. He is pleading with me to not do this, so I'm not going to do it. But we'll see how he behaves. And Du Plessis saw how he behaved, and he's like, I'm kind of embarrassed for this, man. I mean, the look on Du Plessis' face was literally the look of embarrassment and the look of pay-per-view sales going out the window. I'm not a guy that harps on pay-per-view sales. They threw them completely out the window. Everyone said, oh, this press conference was boring. That press conference was boring. Outside of the crowd, I mean, the crowd in Canada was absolutely amazing. Outside of the crowd, this press conference was non-eventful. I mean, you have two guys who supposedly it's so personal, they're brawling in the crowd at UFC 296. And the entirety of the press conference, Sean Strickland's just saying, this guy likes to fight. He's a true warrior. Don't boo Du Plessis. Don't boo Du Plessis. Du Plessis really didn't have much to say other than, you know, oh, he eventually wants to go up to light heavyweight and be the champ at light heavyweight. And that different fighters have different mentalities. They were talking about Du Plessis dreaming of being a champ while Strickland doesn't really care about the belt. And Du Plessis just egging on the boos. Because Du Plessis already knew. He said, I already got Strickland eaten out of the palm of my hand. I don't have to say anything to him. I murdered him with 30 seconds of trash talk a month and a half ago. Think about how crazy that is. Think about how crazy Du Plessis exposed Sean Strickland. He literally said, I'm going to beat you like your daddy did. That's pretty much it. I mean, I know I'm paraphrasing there, but that's essentially what Du Plessis said. And now he has Sean Strickland begging for mercy. And this is one of the reasons there's no way I could have picked Sean Strickland in this fight. I mean, talk about, you know, you have Sean Strickland fans and their ultimate, you know, the words they love to use. Soy boy, snowflake, and there was another one. Cuck. Sean Strickland is the ultimate soy boy. He's the ultimate snowflake, and he's the ultimate cuck. It would not shock me. If after Du Plessis brutalizes him at UFC 297, if Strickland's like, you know what? My girlfriend really likes to fuck champions. Do you mind? Do you mind fucking my girlfriend? I'll sit in the corner in the cuck chair at a hotel room. Here, Du Plessis, have her. Take her from me, please. That's what it seems like. I mean, Strickland is, I've never seen a fighter this emotionally broken. And I honestly feel bad for Strickland. I mean, I genuinely believe this doesn't come from a place of bias or hate. I genuinely believe this is one of the most embarrassing of, any mental warfare I've ever seen in the UFC, period. I've never seen someone going from insulting someone's coach, calling them homophobic slurs, going after them every second of a press conference. Meanwhile, they're sitting there minding their own business, just minding their own business, not saying anything bad about you, to like that. Dricus had him eaten out of the palm of his hands. I've never seen that before, and I never thought that would happen to Sean Strickland, because Sean Strickland's entire character is, I'm going to take it too far, and nobody can hurt my feelings. The bully in Sean Strickland got stood up to, and he cowered away. Dricus might as well give him a swirly, might as well give him a wedgie. I think Strickland would have thanked him for it. He'd be like, thank you, bro, I really needed this. And I feel bad for Strickland, because I do believe, and nobody's willing to say this either, I do believe he's on the spectrum. I do believe that he needs psychiatric help. I do believe he needs to talk to someone, because, I feel like he's become increasingly more unhinged. And I just feel like now with Dricus exposing him this badly, even if Sean Strickland goes out there and wins, which isn't beyond the realm of possibility, every fighter is going to bring this up. You think Khamzat's not going to bring this up? You think Khamzat's not going to go out there in a title shot and say, yeah, daddy's coming home? You don't think Adesanya's going to bring it up? I mean, Adesanya, Strickland was basically peddling false narratives about Adesanya, over-exaggerating something that he saw online from people, who the fans who don't necessarily like Adesanya, used that to harass Adesanya nonstop. And when Adesanya said, hey, man, can you calm down? He asked him, in front of the public eye, can you not talk about my deceased dog? And Strickland even made fun of him after that. You don't think Adesanya, if he gets the rematch, he's immediately going for Sean Strickland's jugular with that type of trash talk? 150%. And I want to ask you guys this. If the roles were reversed, if Strickland found that nerve on Du Plessis and really upset Du Plessis, and Du Plessis said, hey, man, messaged him and said, hey, behind closed doors, messaged him, say, hey, I apologize. Can you please stop doing this? Do you think Strickland would stop? I don't think he would. I don't think Strickland would stop at all. And it's just crazy to me that you can go around, and I said this before, I don't believe anyone should be joking. There's certain things you should not be joking about. There's certain things, and not necessarily in my personal life, but I mean on a public stage. On a public stage, there's certain things with people you don't necessarily know you should not be talking trash about. You should not be bringing someone's wife into it. You should not be bringing someone's family into it. But at some point when a bully goes around nonstop doing that to other people, eventually someone's going to match that energy. And that's exactly what Dricus Du Plessis did. And he melted him with literally like 20, 30 seconds of trash talk from a month and a half ago. He still got Strickland thinking about those lines where Strickland was just seething and cracking his neck. And then Strickland, and again, I talked about this in my video from yesterday, tried to set the narrative that he threatened Du Plessis, and kind of already started to build the narrative. Well, when Du Plessis doesn't talk about it at the press conference, it's because I threatened him, because Du Plessis is scared. Luckily, Du Plessis, way too smart, already got ahead of that in the media day. So I'm glad that he cleared that up. But this entire press conference, literally when Raquel Pennington is talking more shit than Sean Strickland, we've got a serious problem. Pay-per-view's out the window. Nobody's buying this. It was wolf tickets. It's not personal anymore. I personally want to see the best versus the best. I'll be buying the pay-per-view. But in terms of the people who were constantly fixated on WWE storylines, you lost it here. Strickland doesn't. I mean, Strickland would literally go make Du Plessis' bed in the hotel room. Strickland would go there and deliver him food if Du Plessis gets a little hungry late at night and wants a midnight snack. Du Plessis just calls up Strickland and Strickland will drop it off. I mean, that's how bad Du Plessis has him on a leash. The whole press conference, Strickland did nothing but praise him, did not say one bad thing about him. And he spent more time, and it wasn't a lot of time, he spent more time trashing Colby Covington, because at one point he came out and said, Colby's a fraud. He only cares about himself, and it's a shame we even let him in the octagon, which I agree with Strickland on that. Colby is a fraud. Colby sits out in witness protection. Colby says a bunch of nonsensical stuff. But guess what? Colby doesn't DM people privately behind their backs and beg them to stop when someone else comes back at him. But Colby is a piece of shit in his own right, so I do agree with Strickland. And then he made some remarks about Adesanya because a media member brought up that Adesanya was picking Du Plessis. And he talked about Adesanya some more and, told Adesanya he can go fuck himself. And essentially, Sean Strickland trashed Colby Covington and Israel Adesanya more at the press conference than he did Du Plessis. And, it was an embarrassment. The one thing, he had the fans on his side. The fans liked him. The fans were cheering him. The fans were incredible at this press conference. Shouting to oil him up about Dana was probably the highlight of the whole press conference, or the guy running to the stage, which I wonder what kind of motives he had. Did he just want to be on camera or what was going on there? But Strickland, this all relies. I think this will follow around Strickland for the rest of his career, win or lose. But if he loses, if he goes out there and loses on Saturday night, he's forever going to be remembered as the middleweight champion that was made a bitch by Dricus Du Plessis. I 100% believe that. To go out there at a press conference where Sean Strickland is known about trashing people and to just sit there with his legs crossed and his arms folded and just say, I really like this guy. He's a warrior. He's so great. Yeah, I like his hair too. Man, he has some phenomenal clothes on as well. Here's the thing, guys. It was an embarrassing display. It was one of the most mentally weak performances I have ever seen. Dricus has broken this man. Get him therapy. Please send Sean Strickland to therapy. Dricus, maybe he'll supply it with the money he makes extra as becoming champion. But I really think Sean Strickland, I think he'll never live this down. I do believe this will follow him around for the rest of his career, because even if he does win, sure, fans will still love him for the controversial things that he says. But at some point, this is going to get old. Oh, well, if you trash me, I'm going to try to get the fight canceled by stabbing you. That's bitch behavior. That's pussy behavior. And that's what Strickland is now doing. And he's spending more time at the press conference talking about other fighters rather than his actual opponent. So I just think this is one of the most humiliating displays from Sean Strickland. The only other thing we got from this is Dana White says, I'm not thinking about the UFC 300 main event. And then also he bragged about the gate at the beginning. The fans are rip-roaring about that. Yeah, we paid way overpriced tickets for an event that wasn't all that great. That's pretty much the entire UFC 297 press conference. Let me know what you guys thought of the press conference down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.